is learning that our road to securing an IMF bailout may be further delayed than anticipated, as the French government is tonight revealing that China's reluctance to subscribe to an external debt restructuring may pose a danger.
And I think the discussion with China, the role of China, it will be very, very important. But of course, we totally support IMF and also the World Bank.
And Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Vodafone. Further together, I'm blessed Sogah. And tonight, private sector is up in arms against government over three key revenue measures, which the Finance Ministry identifies as crucial to the country's economic recovery plan with the International Monetary Fund. Parliament, by a one-sided majority last weekend, forcefully pushed through the approval of the Excise Duty Amendment Bill 2022, the Growth and Sustainability Levy Bill 2022. There's also the Ghana Revenue Authority Bill of 2022 and the Income Tax Amendment Bill 2022. All revenue measures as part of the conditions for securing what we're on the lookout for, a $3 billion IMF facility. Well, when asked about the likely impact of these revenue measures on the private sector, Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah told me that these measures were crucial to Ghana's quest of securing a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. Listen.
Yes, we've been expressing the hope that by the end of the March window, we would have been able to get board approval. But not all the things that need to be met have been met yet. We're in the process of concluding some of them. We are also hopeful that we'll get the financing assurances from the external creditors. And these two final things coming together should help us close that board approval as quickly as possible. And I think as a first step, we should acknowledge that when it comes to taxation, whoever upon whom the incidence of taxation falls will often raise an objection. When that objection is raised, you have to listen, and if there are amendments that can make the burden lighter, then we examine how to, first of all, prefer and accept those amendments. And for some of our other colleagues in the business community, that at the end of the day, what we need to do is to find that sensible middle ground in fulfillment of the policy which we approved in November last year, and in fulfillment of the prior actions which we agreed with the fund to execute. This is necessary so that we can also close this chapter and then get the external creditors to give the necessary financing assurances between China on one side, the Paris Club on another side, and then we can get the board approval. As you rightly mentioned at the top of this interview, March was when we were hoping to finish. We have not finished all the things that we have to do as a republic, including the passage of these measures, but it is not too late. We have room to do the outstanding things so that we get this chapter behind us.
And finally, the question confronting government is about the new deadline, or perhaps the new timelines that you're working with. When are we hoping to secure this deal finally?
We give ourselves, first of all, the end of last year to finish the staff level agreement, and I think we did pretty well on that. And then we gave Q1 to conclude the prior actions that would have been agreed upon in the SLA, so that we could get board approval. Those prior actions include these three bills. We need to focus on these three bills, do whatever amendments need to be done, get them passed, so that we can get external financing assurances and therefore get the board approval. Mentioning new timelines at this point in time may not necessarily be what we want to do now. What we want to do now is to get these three revenue measures done, get the external financing assurances done, and then go to board.
Well, so Kojo Nkrumah there confirming that there's no new timeline and government remains as certain. But what's crucial is these three key revenue measures which government is relying on as part of the plan to meet the conditions of the International Monetary Fund bailout. But tonight, Joy News is learning that Ghana's journey to securing that crucial IMF bailout may be far longer than anticipated, as the French government is revealing that China continues to be reluctant as to subscribing to the external debt restructuring program. Just last night, the foreign minister for France has been holding bilateral engagements with President Akufo-Addo on the matter. Afterwards, she's been addressing the press on why Ghana has not secured an IMF deal.
And the question of debt it is treated by Club of Paris, but not only, also from a common framework. So the 22 members of Paris Club they discuss how we can help, how we can support the government of your country, and in this case, of course, the economic situation of Ghana worries all of us, and the question of debt it is treated by Club of Paris, but not only, also from a common framework. So the 22 members of Paris Club, they discuss how we can help, how we can support the government of your country, and in this case, of course, we have to make the restoration of debt, external debt, and I think the discussion with China and the role of China, it will be very, very important. So that's why I spoke to you about the importance of the common framework.
So it's now confirmed that we're nowhere close, but government is relying on these three key revenue measures. But there's a clear message on that from the business community that the IMF austerity, even before approval, is beginning to bite hard. I want to bring in my colleague James Aveji, who monitored a press conference addressed jointly by the AGI, GUTA, and the Chamber of Commerce. James, tell us more, and why is the business community worried about these three revenue measures that are crucial to securing the IMF deal?
Blessed, they are worried because they feel that they have already paid their dues to government. They indicated that in the past couple of years, government has met its revenue target in each of the years, and so that was made possible by the taxes that the business community has paid to government. The other bit of it which bites or goes into the worry about the IMF is that the COVID-19 has already eroded their investment capitals, right, due to also partly because of the depreciation of the Ghana citizen. So that is affecting them. Their cost of operation is already so high that it is making their businesses uncompetitive on the sub-region, because if the cost of production goes high, they put that into their pricing, and so if you look at their competitiveness compared to other countries in the sub-region, they are already afraid that it may eat into what the whole after negotiation, and so that's why they think that government need to do something about this and the fear of the IMF deal.
The government should not sacrifice the survival and development of the private sector for the sake of the IMF program. The efforts of the IMF to support our national economy will amount to nothing if it ends up destroying local businesses. As is always said, the private sector is the engine of growth of every economy. Therefore, its importance cannot be overemphasized. So the government should create an enabling environment that will ensure the growth and sustainability of the private sector rather than overtaxing businesses out of their effectiveness.
Well, so that's the president of the Ghana Union of Traders, Dr. Joseph Obeng, but he's this time around speaking as a convener for the Umbrella Coalition. That's the Ghana Joint Business Consultative Forum. Well, Mark Bedu Abwaje is the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. He's also a member of that group, speaking on behalf of the private community. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story. Francis Boy is also a tax consultant. He'll be helping us out with the alternatives for government. But let's start off with you, Mark Abwaji. Government says that without these revenue measures, we can't make progress in terms of our IMF bailout plan. As business community, are you mindful that without this, the entire economy may collapse and you may have nothing on your hands?
Yes, we are very mindful of that. First, let me say good evening to your listeners. And I think that the IMF did not say that without these tax handles, we can't know the 3 billion. What they are saying is that we should enhance our revenue generation. And enhancing it, there are several forms of that. And it's not necessarily introducing new taxes or increasing the rate of existing taxes. We have said that if the government can improve on the efficiency of collection and ensure compliance, we are likely to get more than the 4 billion that we are looking for, rather than introducing new taxes. In Ghana, the research has shown that those who are supposed to pay tax are about 13 million people. Less than 5 million are paying. If you rope in all those who are supposed to pay, and everyone will be paying a bit and pieces of it, we'll get the money that the government is looking for. Instead of piling taxes day in, day out on the few businesses and individuals that they can identify, they keep on filing the taxes, ensuring that they get a revenue. It's a lazy way of, for me, getting the revenue. One thing that the IMF also said, it's two-legged affair. You are rather looking at your expenditure and also your revenue. You don't have to overburden the private sector to get your revenue and asking us to tighten our belt. While yourself, you are not tightening the belt of also reducing your expenditure. I don't think the IMF will be happy. In the end, they give us the 3 billion, and they come and realize that all the business that we have in Ghana have collapsed. Go and check our GDP and look at the contribution of the private sector to our GDP, and look at the contribution of government. Go and check the revenue that you make, the taxes, and look at how much the private sector have been paying.
But Mark, you agree that the... Yes, but Mark, you agree that the amount that we're looking at here is a very substantial amount, some 4 billion Ghana cedis annually out of these three measures. Do you have an alternative, by the way, that could even generate much more?
Yes, alternative is one thing that I've said is also the tax. The other one is the tax exemption. Huge amount of money could be making from blocking these loopholes and also abolishing these tax exemptions. Go and check those who are benefiting from tax exemptions, and look at the number of Ghanaian businesses that are benefiting. They are just using it for their political people to benefit from that. If you are able to abolish the tax exemption, a lot of revenue will come out from there. If you increase our compliance, we will get revenue from there. And mind you, if you help the businesses to grow, if you don't overburden them at the production level, and they grow and they sell and they make a lot of revenue, you will get a lot of money from corporate tax. These taxes that are coming, it doesn't end there. After paying all these things and the other cost of doing business, you also have to go and pay your corporate tax. So build the private sector, empower them. In other jurisdictions, they are using both fiscal policies and monetary policies to incentivize the private sector. So they are getting the taxes at the end of it, at the level of the corporate tax. They don't kill businesses. You are killing businesses and you are increasing taxes. They can be able to make their profit. What are you going to tax?
And now we know that you're making a fresh demand for fresh dialogue. The information minister pointing to the business community there that we are in the middle of a crisis and that we need to find a middle ground. Are you willing for some trade-offs? At least you may make some losses, but in the end, it's about the economic recovery plan. Are you willing to support that?
Yes, it's a win-win situation. He said you are looking for a middle ground. if you are looking for the right thing that you should have done is to consult those who are going to pay taxes. If you don't consult them and you put the taxes on them, you may not know the effect of these taxes on businesses. Consult. Let us build a consensus and agree that these taxes, that we need them. And then we will also in turn will put in our recommendations and say at what level can you put the taxes that government will get the revenue.
I see.
And the businesses also have some level of belief to also agree. People have invested huge sums of money, dollars and cedis into their businesses, thinking that they will get profit and create value for their shareholders. And you are using taxes to kill the businesses. You want to build a middle ground without consulting the business. I think that it's a disrespect for the businesses.
All right, Mark.
If you want to build a middle ground, consult those people. Let them also make input into whatever you want to do.
Okay. Mark, there's a bigger conversation we'll be looking at, the possibility of layoffs. We'll hear from the Federation of Labour, but Francis Boy is a tax consultant. He's also with us in this whole conversation. Mr. Boy, first of all, do you see these three key revenue measures working out for government? 4 billion is the target annually. Could we be meeting the targets easily, as, of course, government is envisaging?
It's doubtful, because if you look at the timing of the start of the measures, I think we are already late by 1 quarter, so it's unlikely that we may get that amount of money. And looking at the opposition that the players in the sector are also expressing, it creates room for people to develop ways to go around this tax measure that has been introduced, such as tax avoidance. But I think that if you look at the entire staff level agreement that was reached with the IMF, the obligation on Ghana is to undertake structural reforms that will ensure public debt sustainability, which we have completed with the domestic debt exchange, and then also undertake medium-term plans to generate additional revenue and reforms that will bolster tax compliance. Here is what I think that if the government had engaged the players, we could have done a combination of both. I mean, raising additional revenue can come from either aggressive tax enforcement of the existing taxes, and then possibly agreeing with the business community to introduce some level of new taxes, probably not at this high level that we are seeing. I believe that if the engagement had been done, possibly the rate that we are seeing could have been some middle ground, then everybody will buy into this new tax reform that
and practically speaking, what are the alternatives? Government is finding itself between a rock and a hard place.
I think if government is unable to get this new revenue lines introduced and get it fully complied, I think there's more of additional resources that need to be injected into tax administration to enforce the existing one. For that one, nobody can, raise any issues about them because they are already existent. I mean, it's clear that around the sub-region, our total tax contribution to GDP is quite low, which means that there are so many other areas we are not collecting the taxes. So I think that enforcement is the way to go if government is having some opposition on the new taxes that have been introduced.
And tonight, there's a lot unfolding with regard to this conversation about the three key revenue measures and its implication for the business community. There's the aspect of labor and the potential layoff that's imminent within industries. James, you've been listening to that argument from the Ghana Federation of Labor. What are they telling us?
Exactly, Blessed. So the Federation thinks that as the cost of production is going high and government will be taxing the profit of these industries operating in Ghana, they may not have enough money to hire hands in their industries, and so it may result in mass layoffs in the country. Abraham Kumsin is the president of the Federation. We can listen to him.
If the industry collapses, what will be your members? There won't be any trade union. You see, that's why we're here, because you could see that this forum predominantly is for the business owners. And why should a trade union be part? But we sense danger that once their businesses collapse, once they relocate to Togo or Ivory Coast or wherever, we can follow them there.
And I'm grateful, James Aveji, my colleague, monitoring all of this developments at the news conference that was addressed by the Ghana Joint Business Consultative Forum. Mark Boedu Abuachi is the CEO for the Chamber of Commerce. He's joined us with his perspective. Then we heard from Francis indicating that government may not meet that target of the 4 billion per annum. Gentlemen, stay with us because Abraham Kumsin is also joining the conversation. Mr. Kumsin, what numbers do you anticipate, first of all, in terms of this potential layoffs?
Oh, uncountable. Already we've lost a lot of them, and you can check from the Labor Department or the Statistical Service. They have the figures. They can give you accurate figures of job losses. And see, all what we can say now is that we don't know why, because the people from the academia, we have economists, we have even the MPs in government, MPs, that is the MPP MPs, have raised concerns about the performance of the finance minister. We shouldn't be wasting our time discussing the person. Why is the president not reshuffling? Why? The finance minister, people have raised issues about the competence of the man. It's a fact. I'm not saying it. At a point, we have about 90 plus MPs, MPP MPs, raising concerns, raising issues about the man's capabilities. That president, change this man. He cannot lead us into IMF because the figures that he's bringing, and his projections are not accurate. That's the problem. And if they are maintaining
but
this
Mr. Kumsin, we need to save, quote, a dying economy at this point. You agree that we're not in normal times. We need to find a solution. Yes.
If that player is still in the team, why do we change? Players, even football matches. The coach monitors the performance of each and every player. If he sees that no, this guy's performance is not good, don't change. Why? We shouldn't bother ourselves with all these, issues that we are talking about. The finance minister must be changed. That's all.
Okay, that's your right. That's your opinion on the matter. The president, of course, has the ultimate power to do that dismissal. But from the perspective of the, I get your point. But let's remain focused on. Yes, I get your point.
Because the taxes that are being paid by the business people in this case, too many of them.
Okay.
17 taxes.
Mr. Kumsin, let's solve the problem about the potential job losses. In the estimation of the Ghana Federation of Labour, what recommendations are you making at this point in terms of averting this disaster that you're talking of?
Recommendation rate. AGI, we are workers. The AGI, the owners of the factories or businesses, they came out with proposals. This presented this thing to Parliament. And they want it, I can read it out for you to hear. They came out with a lot of proposals for them to consider. They didn't have it. They never engaged them. That's why today they met and they are sending another petition to the president himself. They came out with a lot of things, alternatives. What can be done to, arrive at whatever figures that they want. But if a liar, that's how I speak. If you may like it or not, I don't care. But the people who are managing the economy are not being truthful to us. They are telling you they want this money, they want that. Look, are they not the same people who said that e-levy can solve every problem? They went to Parliament that the e-levy, when the e-levy is given to them, they will do it and use it for so many things. We're not going to go to IMF and all that. They wanted another, property tax. It was also approved for them for this finance minister. So what is it? We're just playing games with it. We're wasting our time. We're always finding excuses. The finance minister is not competent. I'm telling you this. Look, we can give you billions of cedis, billions and billions of dollars or pounds sterling. You mess it up. Look at what happened in Britain. Coco Quatin, just a little mistake that he made. Could he survive? Could he stay in his position?
Well,
he lost his job, and even his prime minister, that lady, also was sacked. Then we are here, the first minister who is messing everybody up. How come that the MPs, the MPP MPs, said they were not going to even participate in the discussion of the budget statement that this man brought to Parliament? Why? What did they see? What has happened now?
Okay.
Going round. They want money.
Indeed.
Could not come and say that 4 billion. If you give them $100 billion, they will chop. They will mess it up. I'm telling you this.
Okay.
So they should remove the finance minister.
I get the point.
NPP, they have
so the position of the
people there who can take up that position.
And I get the point there. The position of the Federation of Labour is that we, of course, deal with the aspect of the political class, especially the finance minister. We need to wrap up, gentlemen. Let me start off with you, Mr. Boy. The way forward about averting this potential job losses, and then I'll come to you, Mark, to talk about what practically you'll be doing as industries. So let's start off with you, Mr. Boy, on that.
So I think the obligation in terms of the tax revenue is a medium term, if you look at the staff level agreement. So I think that government can go back to the IMF and say that, look, we can't raise all this revenue within this term, so probably relax the conditionalities a little bit. And then government will engage the business community. If the rates are high, we can meet at some middle ground. Again, if we cannot raise all the revenue, possibly we can look at the expenditure side. Savings that expenditure is also equal to, balancing the equation. And I believe that if this is done, we can get somewhere. But certainly, for enforcement of the existing taxes, it's a must, and we need to invest a lot in the tax administration for the GRA to be able to collect the existing taxes. That way, we will not get opposition from anyone.
Okay, grateful for your time. And for you, Mark, you belong to that society, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce. How do you intend to deal and avert this imminent massive layoff that we're about to see in the sector?
Well, we don't have any option. When businesses are going through difficulties, the first thing that they do is to cut costs. And the cost cutting really affects those who are working, people who are being laid off. For us, we are not happy laying people off, but when the circumstances force us to do it, for the survival of businesses, people will do it. That is why we don't want to get to this level. We are hoping that after sending the petition, the president will open the doors to us, for us to engage, so that we can also make clear to him the difficulties that we are going through. We don't have to get to a level where a lot of people will be. Already the unemployment rate in Ghana is high. People are completing universities. People are coming out day in, day out. They don't have a job. We don't have to compound that situation. So don't force businesses to do that. We want a win-win situation. We want Ghana to move forward. Help all of us.
All right, Mark.
You don't impose the tax without consulting the people. It won't work.
Of course, this conversation will continue. I'm grateful to Mark Beidou Abuachi, CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, also to Francis Boy, a tax consultant, and of course, Abraham Kumsin of the Ghana Federation of Labour. And blessed Sogah. Next is News 9.
Ever visited a shop, picked a whole basket of provisions, toiletries, and very essential things you need, battled a long queue to finally pay, only to be told you can't pay to a merchant number? The way that thing they pay, but with Vodafone Cash, there is no problem. Now on Vodafone Cash, you can pay all merchants on all networks. Easy peasy, straight, direct, sharp from your Vodafone Cash wallet to any merchant number on other networks. So whether you are buying provisions or fuel, medication or food, whatever the service or need, just pay conveniently from Vodafone Cash to any merchant's number. Simply dial *110# to make payment to merchants on other networks today.
Vodafone. Hello CEOs, are you ready? The 7th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo is here. The foremost business conference for over 500 topmost CEOs, heads of state, business leaders and ambassadors, to be held on the 22nd of May 2023 at the Kempinski Hotel. On the theme, Economic Sovereignty, Sustainability and Digital Industrial Transformation, New Path for Growth and Prosperity. This impactful summit has attracted over 2,000 high-level dignitaries, including His Excellencies President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Vice President President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and ex-President John Mahama. Be enlightened with actionable perspectives, CEO performance strategies, strategic insights on the latest business trends through CEO masterclasses, plenaries, keynote, expert insights, and CEO peer networking sessions. Register to participate at GhanaCEOSummit.com. For inquiries, call 0546 391970 or 0244 687222. The Ghana CEO Summit and Expo is powered by Ghana CEO Network in partnership with Deloitte, Ministry of Public Enterprises, GIPC, Sogah, and the Multimedia Group. T's and C's apply.
Government now about siphoning from the public panic collaborators.
People have made themselves car contractors. They give out car documents for people to use to access car maintenance allowance. Once they get their names on the payroll, they send a document back, and that is it. We are going after all such people. Please, if the vehicle does not belong to you, make sure you don't bring it for car maintenance allowance.
Meanwhile, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission says all fraudulent names in the public payroll will be taken out.
Why should the one who is working be paid and the one who is also not even supposed to be an employee be paid equally? That one must be cleared up.
Also tonight, Upper East Regional Immigration Service on high alert following shooting of 3 of its officers, resulting in the death of 1 as they embark on a manhunt for the gunmen who committed the dastardly act.
The very people that we are mandated to protect and protect their property rather see us as enemies. We are on the ground with other sister security personnel taking intelligence to help us get at those people, certainly.
Meanwhile, Boko Central MP Mahama Ayarega condemns the shooting, urging government to foster peace in Boko. Also tonight, trial of former Cocoa Board CEO Stephen Opuni to start all over again 6 years after it commenced.
We have witnessed the failure of the High Court to resolve the Opuni trial the past 6 years. This is simply unacceptable. It's not acceptable for such a case to stay at the court for 6 years when other more complex cases of murder, secession, and offenses brought on the security of the state are more speedily resolved.
Also tonight, there is an online fraudster on the loose in Accra, defrauding unsuspecting victims of thousands of Ghana cedis under the guise of giving them apartments.
We'll get details of that as his modus operandi involved giving his clients keys to non-existent buildings.
And in business, local currency hits 11 Ghana cedis against the dollar in terms of quotes coming from the forex bureaus as market liquidity continues to improve significantly, as analysts are linking this to progress made on the IMF program as well as the 3 key revenue measures.
And in sports, General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association convicted and fined 24,000 cedis by an Accra High Court. We'll tell you why shortly.
Also tonight, President Paul Kagame of Rwanda declares he's looking forward to retiring after 22 years in office.
It is an inevitability that we have to find, first of all, grow leaders, and not for me to decide who is going to be the next leader after me. I'm looking forward to that.
But he's being warned by his Kenyan counterpart.
I want to tell you that from our own experience in Kenya, trying to get a successor can be a very disastrous project.
And much later, wow, they are going to arrest me. Can't believe this is happening in America. Words of former U.S. President Donald Trump as he's formally arrested in New York. Evans, we have that and more here in tonight's edition of News Now. You may want to join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. Also on all our social media platforms, you can leave us a comment there. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Evans Mensah, still live from the capital here in Kigali, Rwanda. And we start tonight from the Internal Audit Agency, where it has identified a cabal siphoning millions of cedis monthly from the public payroll under a dubious scheme involving internal and external collaborators. The cabal, according to the head of the agency, Dr. Eric Odrosai, are behind undeserved claimants on the payroll and other fraudulent means to take money from the state. Today, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission began an ambitious program to clean the roll and ensure that only legitimate employees are on it. Dr. Odrosai tells Joy News those behind the scheme will be unmasked.
The implication is that government contribution to SNIT will be on the increase. In SNIT's own books, they may think that government owes them. But when you do the audit well, you realize the government does not owe them after all, or the amount should be lower. There are also instances where SNIT pensions increases unnecessarily because persons who are supposed to be on retirement they will still be in active service. So you get SNIT paying their pension and central government also paying their salary. There are instances where people have made themselves car contractors. They give out car documents for people to use to access car maintenance allowance. Once they get their names on the payroll, they send the document back, and that is it. We are going after all such people. Please, if the vehicle does not belong to you, make sure you don't bring it for car maintenance allowance. DVLA will be working with DVLA for continual justification of ownership of vehicles to enable you get government car maintenance allowance. These are some of the issues in the system. And I think that if all of us, we work hand in hand to clean up the system, government compensation budget will be, to come to the barest minimum, and probably going into the future, there will be no need for us to go to IMF because we will make a lot of savings on the government compensation budget and free some resources for other development projects.
Well, we can hear from the Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Dr. Ben Arthur, who says the exercise will sanitize the public sector payroll and help identify the lapses and inequalities in the benefits and allowances of public sector workers.
There's cooperation. Everybody who has read our law and knows what we do definitely knows that we have the mandate. Maybe those who initially said we didn't have the mandate have revised their notes. So possibly the tape you played is an old one. It's an old one because under Section 3B of our Act mandates us to do so. Of course, even ordinarily, in the natural, we are not able to simply go and say that you have fixed, you have determined benefits, allowances, you've developed salary structures, and therefore we are not interested in how it's being operationalized. So we are able to do that. Mm-hmm. Of course, yesterday the first point of call was with the Internal Audit Agency. We signed an MOU with them for us to collaborate and do this jointly. But of course, it was needful that we also, go through their books to ensure that they are also having a very clean sheet. Other than that, that would be very problematic. Also joining us. Of course, we have also...
And so you can say, Mr. Arthur, that of all the agencies, at least the first agency, which is the Internal Audit Agency, has been cleared of all fraudulent activities. Is that the case?
Definitely. But the detailed findings, we cannot put it in the public domain.
Well, you can't tell me what you found so far, but Mr. Arthur, are you able to tell me what exactly you are looking for then?
In fact, this exercise is a type of exercise that when you come across some anomalies, some of them might be genuine errors that you have to correct. Some of them might be misunderstandings of some of the conditions we are determining and how it's even being interpreted. So those ones will even assist management to overcome some of these issues. But in general, we had done this on a pilot basis before even coming this far. We couldn't just wake up and say that we are going to do a nationwide payroll monitoring.
Well, Emefa, it has been close of day now. Let's assess how the first day went with this particular exercise. The CEO of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Dr. Ben Arthur, joins us on the telephone line right now. Dr. Arthur, thank you for your time here on Newsnight. Hello, Dr. Arthur. We'll try and get Dr. Arthur in and speak to him about how the first day of the exercise went.
Hello, I'm on the line.
We do that. We get some clarity on this.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arthur, for your time here on Newsnight.
Hello.
Dr. Arthur, can you hear me?
Yes, but your line is very thin. Hello.
Okay, let's try. I mean, I know today you started this exercise. How did the first day go?
Hello?
So, Dr. Arthur, he's asking how the first day went. Can you hear me, Dr. Arthur?
Oh yes. I don't have a PhD yet, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Arthur. So, we're asking how the first day of the exercise went today.
Okay, thank you very much. The first day has received very massive cooperation, especially from the first institution that we visited as part of the field work. We sat down with them, went through all, of course, we had collected data on them, did the analysis. After the media had left us, we went into proper technical work, went through that. But of course, some other recommendations that we've made and the rest are not for public consumption. What is good for the public, we'll put it out there. Others, some of them are just corrections of anomalies and the rest. But of course, in general, today too, we have received very massive cooperation from the head of civil service and that of local government service. In the coming days, we'll be able to meet all their management for us to streamline things. So we are good. We are good going forward.
So from the updates
at the start of this process, Dr. Arthur, you had.
I don't know whether you honor me with a PhD. He keeps on calling me Dr. Arthur.
Yeah, apologies there. At the start of the process, Mr. Arthur, there was some resistance from some of the unions, in particular.
No, I don't know, but we have never faced any resistance from any union. Initially, when the public announcement was made clear to everybody, of course, we heard in the news that one of the unions had alleged or had alluded to the fact that they could not find where we had drawn our mandate. But of course, through your own platform, you were able to even put it to them. And you quoted Section 3B of Fair Wages and Salaries Act 2007, which is Act 373. You quoted it verbatim. So I do not think there is any union or any group of persons who doubt the fair wages mandate to do payroll monitoring. In times past, fair wages had even had memorandum of understanding and collaboration with even audit service. And so it's not a new thing at all. Anybody who says that we don't have the mandate possibly needs to avail himself or herself, with the details or be seized with the details of our law. So we have the mandate. And nobody has resisted that. If there is anything at all that I may care to report, we received massive cooperation from our colleagues, and in fact, everybody is happy because that is what will also help all of us, in the name of fairness. If indeed somebody is not placed on the appropriate level and you realize that the person is being shortchanged, we should be careful to correct that anomaly. In times past, we did a bit of piloting before coming full scale. And it was obvious, even some of the unions have even reported to us of some disparities in terms of allowances, in terms of grade levels and the rest. You remember on your own platform, at some point in time, colleges of education, non-teaching staff members even issued a communique and were ready to go on strike because of some anomalies that they, according to them, had detected during implementation period. So we've listened to all of this, and we believe that the time has come for us to get out there and ensure that if administrators misconstrued our instruction, we are there to help them make sure that it's implemented very well. But of course, I will seize this opportunity to also quickly add that if anybody is earning an unearned salary, we will definitely advise, which we have done previously, and I will beg of you to use your medium to announce to those individuals that if you know you are earning an unearned income, what we want you to do is to quickly take steps and refund. And very soon we'll be making public with the procedures and the rest, where you have to go and deposit those monies and the rest in a public account. If you know you are a goods worker, the advice is that you advise yourself before we come and fish you out, which we will definitely do. We have had instances where people who are collecting vehicle maintenance allowance, in fact, there's a joke in town, but it's a true joke, where our checks with DVLA had indicated that an individual was collecting a vehicle maintenance allowance with a vehicle number that actually belonged to a tractor. Can you imagine? So when we see some of these anomalies, we will take the necessary steps to get the right things done. But of course, if there are any fraudulent practices, we will have to also take them on and let the appropriate institutions, do their work.
Benatha, thank you very much. Benatha is the CEO of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Emefa.
Well, we head to Boko at this point, and there's heightened vigilance by the Immigration Service in the area after 3 of its officers were shot, resulting in the death of one. The Regional Public Relations Officer, Deputy Superintendent Martin Tiose-Soye, says a change in security strategy is being initiated to protect remaining officers in volatile Boko after the incident, while Assistant Inspectors Afare, Eric Ayidia and Philip Mote were in a private vehicle to get food when the unknown gunmen shot at them. Philip Mote, 42, unfortunately died, while Assistant Inspectors Afare and Ayidia battle for their lives in hospital as we speak. We can hear from the Deputy Superintendent Tiose telling Joy News there's a collaboration with other security agencies to get these culprits.
And protect their property, rather see us as enemies or whatever, to understand that their activities could threaten our lives. Eric, for instance, his case is serious, so he has been transferred to Tamale Teaching Hospital. Lawrence, Inspector Lawrence Afare is at the Boko Presbyterian Hospital. And the deceased, the body is also at the mortuary. They are not minor injuries, they are life-threatening. Lawrence's own is a bit manageable, but for Eric, his own is critical. We are not scared because it's our mandate, but we become more strategic in performing our daily or our routine duties, both day and night. Personnel will cover each other's back. There will be a single movement of personnel, maybe 2 groups, 3 groups. Unlike these ones, we were in their car going to buy food, and they were shot at. Supposing another group was behind, they could have combated this callous act. So we re-strategize to perform better, taking into consideration our lives also. For now, they have been arrested. We are on the ground with other sister security personnel, taking intelligence to help us get at those people. Certainly, we pursue them, arrest them, and they will face the court of law.
Well, thankfully, Deputy Superintendent Tiose-Soye joins us live. We're grateful for your time. You're hoping to pursue them, arrest them, for them to face the law. What's the status of that? Are we anywhere close to making these arrests? Hello, Mr. Tiose.
Hello?
Can you hear me, Mr. Tiose?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So I was asking if we are anywhere near. We were been interacting with you earlier. You mentioned that you're hoping to pursue these gunmen. Are we anywhere near doing that? What's the status of this particular case?
For now, every vital information is still a secret for us. It's our hope that when we keep that within ourselves, we will be able to get to a very good conclusion. Other than that, releasing to the public will not serve us any good. So for now, whatever information we have, we'll keep intact whilst working with informers who understand the job.
But what really, from your preliminary investigations, what really led to this particular shooting?
To begin with, there was no any sign of confrontation between those guys and our officers. Nevertheless, the incident happened. Until now, we don't know why it happened. I think at the end we will arrive at that. But for now, there's no any assigned cost to that.
But as it stands now, whilst you continue your investigations, you have men still stationed on the ground. We'll talk about their safety. What is the assurance?
For us, we are trying to perform our work, and that's our focus for now. Like I said earlier on, we will re-strategize and become more vigilant. Watch our back and front wherever we find ourselves, as and when we are on the move. We are dedicated to the work. We will ensure that this thing does not happen again in the near future.
Unfortunately, you lost Philip Motte, but we are told that Afari and Eric Aidia are receiving attention in the hospital. Can you tell us how they are faring so far?
Yeah, the paramedics are doing their best. Eric Aidia, his is a bit serious, so he has been transferred to Tamal Teaching Hospital. The Lawrence Safari is at the Presbyterian Hospital in Boko. Both have been given maximum attention by the medical teams. Their condition is at no risk for now.
Okay.
That's the assurance given.
Okay. Well, and how about Philip Motte's family? The immigration is in touch with them. What really has been the process?
Yeah, they'll be informed. Our bosses in Accra, headquarters, have asked that the body be flown to Accra for almost preservation, leading to the funeral as and when everything is set to take off.
Okay, we're grateful. We'll be following up on this. We're grateful for your time. That's Tiose Sawyer, Deputy Superintendent of Immigration there. He speaks for the Ghana Immigration in the area, Evans. And the MP for the area, Mahama Yariga, has a statement on this particular issue. If you may, I can take that. And it came up this afternoon, and it says he condemns in very strong terms the shooting, injuring and killing of some members of the security agencies in Boko, and for him it's most reprehensible and should not be repeated, and he wants an investigation into the matter, and for him it must be conducted and the perpetrators brought to book. And on behalf of the people of Boko, he's expressing his sincere condolence to the families of the deceased security personnel and extend prayers to the wounded as well. So that's the statement that the MP for Boko Central has just issued earlier today, Mahama Ayariga Evans.
You're still live here on News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. I am live from Kigali, Rwanda, and in the studio there in Accra,
I am Emefa Apawu.
Now, there is an online swindler on the loose in Accra, defrauding people who want to rent apartments. The scammer, who operates with other people, brazenly takes unsuspecting victims to an apartment, hands over keys to a non-existing building to the victims, and then take an advance payment. One of the victims, in her early 30s, was defrauded of 30,000 cedis. Another man, Bright Wusi, was duped of more than 10,000 cedis. Max Adababa followed Bright Wusi to an apartment. The online tricks that used to scam him, and now reports.
Well, Evans, Maxwell is still bringing us all the details right here. He will join us in studio as well with all the details. I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like this before, but we've had a number of them thronging the offices today, both at Asisampa and then also here at Joy News, telling us the various stories. And I would want to hear Maxwell on all the details. But if you may, let's head to the courts now. And the trial of former COCOBOT CEO Dr. Stephen Opuni is to start all over again 6 years after it commenced. Well, this is the ruling of Justice Kwesi Anochijima, who's been tasked to hear the case following the retirement of Justice Clemens Wanyanuga. The court holds the view that a new trial will be in the interest of justice, since the records of the court are saddled with a lot of allegations. Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame in February this year expressed his frustration at the fact that the case had taken too long. Listen.
I find it highly unreasonable and unfair for so-called high-profile criminal cases involving simple sum offenses of fraud, willfully causing financial loss to the state, and money laundering to drag on for years in our courts, while similar cases filed against the perceived ordinary member of society are quickly or rapidly concluded, most of the time within about 6 months to 1 year. We have witnessed the failure of the High Court to resolve the Opuni trial the past 6 years. This is simply unacceptable. It's not acceptable for such a case to stay at the court for 6 years, when other more complex cases of murder, secession, and offences brought on the territory of the state are more speedily resolved. These developments deepen the injustice and inequity in our society. The judiciary clearly has to play its part. They have to play their part. The judges also, yes, in the eradication of corruption. There cannot be a better way of ensuring that corruption does not pay than through the speedy, efficient, and just eradication of corruption cases, especially the so-called high-profile cases involving politicians and other wealthy businessmen.
Outside the courthouse in New York.
Well, let's bring in a legal affairs correspondent, Joseph Akable, joining us with the very latest on this. First, Joseph, at what stage was the case before Justice Wanyanuga retired?
Well, in fact, Emefa, 14 witnesses have testified so far, 7 on behalf of the prosecution and 7 being called on behalf of Dr. Opuni. So the prosecution had closed its case. Dr. Opuni had been asked to also come in and give his testimony, and that was also in session when Justice Wanyanuga retired. In fact, he was given an extension after his retirement for 6 months, and just when about a month to that 6 month extension to elapse, the AG's office did make an application that the matter be sent to the CJ for a new judge to be assigned, because they felt that the matter could not be finished within the month that was left of the 6 month extension that he was entitled to.
Let's talk about the reason that Justice Jima gave for his decision to start the trial all over again after all these years.
As far as he's concerned, this is in the interest of justice, in that the records of the court are filled with so much allegations. He also makes the point that starting all over again will afford all parties in the case the opportunity to hear from witnesses, including he, the judge himself, monitor the demeanor of witnesses, which he considers crucial to determining the truthfulness of a witness, among other things, to enable the court to arrive at a fair conclusion. And so he holds the view that it will be in the interest of justice and fairness for both sides, that is the prosecution and the accused persons, that this trial commences afresh.
Okay, well, Blair, this must be good news then for Dr. Opuni's legal team.
In fact, on more than 10 occasions, they have tried in several ways to get Justice Clemens Wanyanuga off the case. In fact, in one particular instance, I had to deal with a comment Justice Wanyanuga had made while performing his traditional role in the Volta region as a chief. where he had commended President Akufo-Addo for implementing free senior high school policy. They made an application asking that he recuses himself because that meant that he was touting government's achievements, which they believe that this prosecution is in line with government's objectives, and so they wanted him out. They went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that he remains on the case. There was an instance that again the Supreme Court ordinary bench actually barred Justice Onyenuga from hearing the matter. The matter went on review, found by the Attorney General. The court now allowed Justice Onyenuga to return again. Even with a 6-month extension, that is when he retired. They contested that it went all the way up. Eventually, the court allowed him to return. Then the AG at the final hour, with just a month to go, now for the first time, asked that Justice Onyenuga be made up, taken off the case because he cannot complete it within a month. And so, for the defense side, they have consistently wanted him out. And now the good news is that due to what the court has decided, he is no longer going to be there. And number two, the new judge has decided to start a trial all over again.
Well, Joseph, how about the AG though?
I mean, we understand that they are not too excited about this particular decision. In fact, the Chief State Attorney, Evelyn Closey, who argued this particular matter in court, did indicate that it was the view of the AG that was unfair to the prosecution for the trial to commence afresh. What our sources within the AG tell us is that filing for a review of sorts of this particular decision remains a very viable option that is being considered at this stage.
Well, that's our legal affairs correspondent, Joseph Akable. Well, we know we've been following up on another story also. Maybe quickly you can fill us in. That's on the management of the University of Ghana. They want a new judge to handle a case, and that has been filed by residents of the Commonwealth Hall. Tell me more. Well, it looks like we've lost Joseph Akable. Joseph, can you hear me? Okay, well, it's just a technical challenge there. But so basically, the document that was filed by lawyers of the university alleges that the current judge, Francis Obri, was closely associated with the hall while he was a student, and it would not be fair. And Justice Obri had previously ordered the university from implementing its new residents a reallocation policy that will see the Commonwealth Hall become a facility for freshmen and graduate students. Well, it's time for business. George Riafe, you don't have any interest in Commonwealth Hall, do you? Okay. Well, let's talk business.
Okay, well, coming up in business, local currency hits 11 Ghana cedis against the dollar in terms of quotes coming from these forex bureaus as market liquidity continues to improve significantly, with analysts linking development to progress made on IMF program and 3 key tax revenue measures. And the Ghana Revenue Authority finally takes off with the collection of property rates from April 1, 2023. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
Isn't life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom.
Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST Campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Fly Qatar Airways, the world's best airline, and enjoy added convenience, safety, and flexibility of online bookings and mobile wallet payments. Enjoy 100% bonus avios. Simply join Privilege Club now and use QR Pay to book. Book today at www.qatarairways.com. Qatar Airways, going places together.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Ghana Cedi's good run against the dollar appears not to be ending anytime soon. The rates quoted by banks and Forex Bureau continue to improve significantly in terms of reaching some favorable levels. There is more in this report.
Based on engagement with some of the bank treasurers, the strong gains made by the Ghana Cedi over the past 2 days can be linked to improved dollar supply coming from the Bank of Ghana. They also argued that the significant progress made by government in terms of meeting most of the preconditions for securing an IMF Executive Board approval has also been a major factor. These bank treasurers believe that the renewed investor confidence has also been a major contributory factor. This is due to the fact that government is taking some critical measures, move that could help to deal with the high budget deficit as well as help in reducing the country's high debt levels. Analysts maintain that the Ghana Cedi's position could strengthen further if Ghana is able to secure an IMF program in the second quarter of this year. Sources close to the IMF have indicated that looking at progress made by government, Ghana may secure board approval earlier than initial months projected in the second quarter of this year. Checks by Joy Business shows that even some of the forex bureaus are quoting lower rates than what some of the commercial banks are selling to their retail clients as at today.
And that is the Business Desk report. Meanwhile, some industry watchers also believe that the current challenge with the dollar on the international market in terms of its losing grounds to other currencies might be a factor. I mean, the dollar is not that strong compared to some 2 months ago. And all these factors are playing into Ghana Cedi's performance on the local market. The Ghana Revenue Authority has finally taken over the collections of property rates from local assemblies. Joy Business understands that it took up from April 1, 2023. The authority is moving into this space as the various local assemblies struggle to collect these rates. Reverend Dr. Amishada Wusomwa had earlier been explaining to Joy Business what they are doing to aid in the collection of this tax.
Basically, what we have done is that there are a number of properties that we have already raised the assessment. We have introduced a common platform that is a system that allows you to be able to populate all the properties in there. And then we are encouraging property owners to go online and be able to update their records with any additional properties that they have. And then within that system, we are able to generate rates applicable to your property. You know, the rates differ from area to area and municipality to municipality, and then we'll be able to advise the property owners of their rates. At the same time, we're also encouraging, once this with the platform ready, we are encouraging property owners to also go in, and if even your rates, your applicable rate have not been generated yet, you can still even pay in advance if you so desire, and then when the rates are generated, you'll be able to get the right figure for your property rate. So.
And that is Reverend Dr. Amishada Wusomwa. He is the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And remember that it's no longer the local assemblies that will be coming to you for your property rates, but rather officials that are commissioned by the Ghana Revenue Authority to do these collections on behalf of the local assembly. Let's talk about insurance, because some industry or some insurance players are calling for more collaboration with stakeholders within the sector to boost penetration. According to Chief Sales Officer at Glyco Life, that is John Eckersmart, more effort should be put into various sensitization programs to strengthen and streamline the activities of the sector. He spoke to Joy Business as Glyco Life demonstrated its commitment to claims payment with 15,000 Ghana cedis payout to a family of the late military officer Sharif Imoro.
It is for you to educate the public on what insurance is, what it takes to have an insurance policy, what are the challenges or not challenges, what do they need when there is a claim. Every insurance is very different. If you look at other aspects of insurance, which is motor and life insurance, they are two different things. For life insurance, so far as you pay your premium, when something happens, you don't need any other person to come with you to get your claim. So it makes it very simple.
John Eckersmart, he is the Chief Sales Officer at Glyco Life Insurance, talking over there, giving us some more details in terms of what they are doing with other players to improve insurance penetration there. Now let's talk about the stock market in terms of gains on the market. Prices have been going up quite significantly. Now if you look at the gains that have been made by some of the stocks, it's gone up by over 12%. Now the continuous rally of the exchange is underpinned by dividend announcement by some of the listed companies on the market. So it appears that the market is doing quite well in terms of good returns that is offering to some investors that are participating on the Ghana Stock Exchange, and that is quite interesting in terms of the returns that is bringing to these investors out there. And I mean, it's interesting looking at the Ghana city and how it's faring, and if this should continue going forward, one will talk about the impact on the larger economy in terms of things stabilizing. You also want to look at prices of petroleum products and also even prices of goods and services. Now there are push for the transport union to also do something about fares and how that could also impact you and I in terms of cost of living. So the good run, it appears is not ending soon, and maybe earlier Ghana closes a program with the IMF also, we could see some consolidation for the Ghana city as well, Emefa.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, George. We'll go through some of your messages that you've sent in. But Evans, what are we doing next?
We are talking about the National Democratic Congress, and as you know, the battle lines are now firmly drawn in that ambition to lead the National Democratic Congress. But when it comes to the parliamentary level, and the vetting has started for the parliamentary aspirants across the country. 3 aspirants have so far been disqualified. The vetting of the National Democratic Congress parliamentary slots in the northern region. The 3 are Dauda Adams, who had put in his bid for the Sanerugu constituency, Bawa Abdul Fatawu for the Tamale South constituency, and Sigida Sharif for the Savelugu constituency. However, some of the disgruntled aspirants who have been disqualified have served notice of challenging the basis on which they were excluded from the race. Let's take a listen to Bawa Abdul Fatawu, who was hoping to unseat former minority leader Haruna Idrisu.
Everybody, as I entered the vetting room, I was having hope that I'm also coming to respond to questions. And all of a sudden, what they are telling me, I was not getting their position. And while I was not getting it, I decided to request them to give me a written ruling or verdict of their vetting. And when they gave me the ruling, I saw that what they said was non-existent. They said I claimed, I admitted that I was 2 years in the party. I mean, how would you say that? 2 years coming to contest for a member of parliament? That is untenable. So I disagree with them. And then they wanted to tie that with my biometric registration with the party, with my activeness in the party. And I said, no, you don't do that. So we had not even gotten there. They were trying to look at the longevity that was mentioned in the guidelines. And I also drew the attention to a constitutional provision in the constitution. And the two-wording nature wasn't same. And they think that my understanding of it is not the true meaning of the constitution.
So what's the way forward now?
Per the guidelines of the primaries, there are other remedies that we may exercise our right as members of this great party.
Which is?
We will appeal the decision.
You earlier indicated that there is a grand agenda to ensure you don't achieve your parliamentary ambition.
That is what I felt. per the behavior of the panel and the people around there. Because otherwise, if you have anything, allow us to go. Whoever takes the seat, fair enough. That is the game. That is democracy. That is fairness.
Well, the Northern Regional Secretary of the party, Muhammad Abdul Salam, has been speaking about the agitations. He said it is to be expected, considering the high expectations.
On day 2, we took 21 aspirants from 6 constituencies, just as yesterday, 21 from 6 constituencies. So the total stands at 42 aspirants haven't been vetted, with 3 not being able to meet the eligibility criteria. 3 aspirants, 1 from Savannah, 1 from Sandaru, another from Tamale South, were unable to meet the eligibility criteria. So as it stands now, 3 people have been disqualified out of 42.
Your party people are accusing the vetting committee of deliberately disqualifying those you think are contenders for some of the sitting MPs.
Are you surprised? If we were to disqualify them, we would have disqualified everybody and allowed the sitting MPs to go unopposed. Is that not the case?
Yes, but they are saying that if you see that this person is capable of unseating one, then you target the person.
But it means if they are the delegates who are making the decision, there are still people in the race that they can still make a choice. Is that not it? These complaints are normal with disqualifications.
Well, we're joined on the telephone line right now by Martina Bugri, who is our Northern Regional Correspondent. Martina, apart from Bawa Abdul Fattah, who we had earlier say that he and his lawyers will be appealing the decision, you've been speaking to the other aspirants who have been disqualified. How are they taking this?
Yes, I tried to speak to the lady from Saviligu, but that there is a party issue, and when they get to Saviligu, they would sit pass. And the other one had petitioned, I'm told, the committee, and so he's waiting for the outcome of that petition, we are told. So basically, these were the things that came up when I spoke to some of them at the grounds there.
And we know Tamale is a hotbed of political activity in a way, and these people who have been disqualified will have their own followers. Is it leading to increased tension among the NDC ranks in the northern region?
Yes, for those they disqualified, their supporters stayed on at the party office. When I tried to film them, they warned me they would smash. Were very upset, and they stayed on forcing the police to be at post until they came out to speak to the candidate, the aspirant, and then he decided to move out, and then his followers went with him. But those from Savili were very agitated. They had threatened that they were going to burn the party office, but their leadership were able to calm them down, and then they moved them out of the premises of the party and then they left. So I must say that yes, tension is beginning to build up. I heard some even saying that with what is going to force them to vote, not to vote for the party because their preferred candidate are some of the sentiments that I heard people make at the grounds there.
Martina, thank you very much. From the northern region, let's come to the greater Accra region, where one of the disqualified aspirants for Medina, Prince Moses Zakaria, has vowed to contest as an independent candidate after the party's vetting committee disqualified him. Now, they claim he served as a general secretary of the United Front Party, raising questions about loyalty. But the story is different in the Upper West region, where 30 aspirants have successfully been vetted to contest for 11 parliamentary seats in the region. Let's bring in our regional correspondent, Rafiq Salam, who has been looking at the contests in the West Central and West constituencies.
Well, Evans, Rafiq Salam's report, we'll bring that to you shortly, but it looks like it's a good time now for us to do sports. I know the NPP have also been busy today, and the chairman of the party, Stephen Ntim, has been addressing the media weeks after the NDC tore into President Akufo-Addo's State of the Nation address, describing it as one filled with falsehood and not reflecting the realities facing the Ghanaian people. We'll get to hear from Stephen Ntim shortly on that. But let's bring in Musbao with the latest from the world of business. I'm sure Evans is dying to say hello to you.
Yeah, the world of sports, actually, yes. Well, the Ghana Football Association General Secretary Prosper Harrison Addo, he's been convicted by an Accra High Court for contempt. He's been sentenced to a 1 day in jail and fined 24,000 Ghana cedis. And as a result, but the lawyer, we understand, will spend no time behind bars after the fines were promptly paid. Now, the contempt was filed by Ashanti Gold after the FA went ahead to commence the 2022-23 Bet-Power Premier League despite an interlocutory injunction imposed on the season. Non-executive council member Sheikh Tofik Seinu was also convicted by the court, and two men, you understand, of course, will serve 1 day jail sentence and have all paid the fine, which prevent them from serving, from being behind bars. And what we understand also is that Ashanti Gold are unhappy about the ruling by the court and have indicated they might pursue this beyond the Accra High Court. Well, Emefa, also in Europe, Chelsea will be engaging Liverpool in some 9 minutes from now after the dismissal of head coach Graham Potter. Bruno Salter is the one who is taking charge of the team at the moment. I mean, wait to see what the fortunes of Chelsea will be like. That's all for sports, Emefa.
Thank you very much, Musbao. We head to the camp of the NPP briefly now, Evans. And of course, I've been telling you earlier about a national chairman of the NPP, Stephen Ntim, accusing his colleague from the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, of embarking on a deliberate campaign of propaganda and refusing to acknowledge the effect of COVID-19 on the country's economy. We can hear from Stephen Ntim.
Ghana's economy was a toast of the world until COVID-19. Before 2020, Ghana was hailed among the fastest growing economies in the world. But COVID-19 disrupted the growth momentum of the economy, and later the Russian-Ukraine war also came on board. As a result of these factors, our economy, which was among the fastest growing economies in the world, started to accelerate in 2020, and the government has committed everything in its toolkit to regenerate it. Ladies and gentlemen, the ravaging impact of COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war on the global economy are visible all around us. But somehow, the NDC has refused to acknowledge nor admit this fact, to continue misinforming Ghanaians that this government has mismanaged our economy. So, the NDC's press conference was merely a repetition of their denial of the impact of COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war on the economy. The NDC hopes that by consistently propagating this blatant misinformation, it will get enough Ghanaians to come to believe it. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, I'm concerned about this deliberate misinformation campaign by the NDC to deny the impact of COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war on Ghana's economy. And many others are concerned about increasing taxes. These real bread and butter issues made it difficult for anyone to believe it is not the government's fault that we are going through these hard times. This is the opportunity that
Well, correspondent Kweku Asante was at this event and joins us on the telephone line right now. Kweku, the MPP chairman also did not mince words in describing the NDC party as not only bad managers of the economy, but bad researchers as well.
And so Chairman Ntim sought to pick on the NDC's claim that if COVID-19 was affecting Ghana, then why was not affecting Côte d'Ivoire? The chairman then gave out some figures that suggested to him that COVID-19 had brought about the same challenges to Ivory Coast. And he started to suggest that if NDC did some more research, some facts would have become apparent to them.
And quickly, let's also talk about this often referenced subject of reduction in the size of government. What's been the MPP's response to the NDC accusing government of ignoring calls to downsize and cut expenditure?
Well, so according to Chairman in team, the MPP started administration in 2017 with about 126 ministers. But because the president had listened to Ghanaians and the concerns they had about his size of government, he has reduced that to 86. And so he says that the potential for NDC to continuously harp on the same statement that the government was bloated simply isn't accurate.
Well, thank you very much, Kweku, and I'm pretty sure the subject of the true state of the nation will go away. But I believe you, the audience, have the final say on what the actual state of the nation is. Emefa.
Well, we'll stay in Kigali where you are this evening, bringing us news live. And President Paul Kagame of Rwanda says he's looking forward to retiring and handing over power after 22 years in office. He's been speaking at a press briefing with his Kenyan counterpart, William Ruto, in the Rwandan capital, Kigali. He told journalists a succession plan is being actively discussed. So, Evans, you were there at this briefing. Tell us more.
Of course, and this obviously is a big deal for the international community, for the rest of the continent. Many have described him as a benevolent dictator, and here was the man himself, for the very first time in a long time, publicly saying that he is ready to step aside. Not only so, that he has no interest in appointing who succeeds him. Listen.
On the transition part for the person in the president of Rwanda is again another issue. I fully understand what you are talking about. It's an issue that has to be addressed. Sooner or later, I had the opportunity to discuss it with my members of the party. That it is an inevitability that we have to find, first of all, grow leaders, and not for me to decide who is going to be the next leader after me. I think that also is not necessarily correct. But to create an environment, circumstances that...
Well, Evans, he's also looking forward to leaving office then. Let's talk about it.
Yes, he's looking forward to leaving office. And guess what, Emefa? He's saying that when he leaves, he will consider taking up the job of a journalist, just like me and you.
Really? Okay, let's hear him.
But the situation is being looked at, has been looked at, in fact, since 2010. We had this discussion within our party, within our country. It's not the first time it has come up. Maybe it's not even going to be the last time, but life has to go on. I'm sure one day I may join journalism in my old age. So, and then we can talk about that past that involved me. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, old journalist there, Kagame. Well, Evans, on the subject of leaving office, he's been telling us about this, but he's been standing beside Kenyan President William Ruto, who has his own issues back home over disputed elections. What was his reaction?
His reaction was interesting, Emefa Apawu. As far as is concerned, Paul Kagame should be very careful about being anxious, about being eager to leave office, because succession plans can be dangerous.
I heard you talk about why don't you look for a successor. I want to tell you that from our own experience in Kenya, trying to get a successor can be a very disastrous project because it may not be the person the people want. So I think that's an area that requires much more than identifying somebody and saying, telling the population this is the person. What President Kagame has done from where I sit is commendable. I think he has provided sufficient mentorship to enough people.
Well, and Evans, on the subject of leaving office, Mr. Kigami, we know, has just been elected for another 5-year term as chairman of his political party. So what does that mean, considering he's now openly talking about a succession plan? Well, that's a subject that we'll be exploring subsequently. But to the U.S., briefly, before we head off, interesting times indeed that we're in. Donald Trump, former U.S. president, under arrest after arriving at the court. We'll be looking forward to this day when we heard that he's been indicted. Well, he's been making some comments before heading to the courts today. I'm sure you've been monitoring in there as well. What's the talk?
Well, I think everybody else is paying attention to that, and I was seated in front of William Ruto of Kenya and Paul Kagame. And we're talking about how the West sometimes wants to dictate to us. They have their own issues they should focus on. I've just been looking at the feed here, and Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty now to 34 felony charges. Pretty unprecedented, historic in the U.S.
Well, that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of News Night. There's more of that on myjoyonline.com, bringing you updates throughout the day on Joy News and also on Joy FM. But the geeks are here. I'm sure you want to say hello to the Geek Squad. We've beaten them to it, have we? Or we've taken the lead.
It's Spikey. I'm pretty sure Spikey's there.
Yes,
Spikey, you're going to talk about technology today. And this is the beauty of technology. I'm sitting here in my hotel room and reading the news live from Kigali with Emefa Apawu, all because of the power of technology.
Yeah, all because of the geeks like us. If it wasn't us, you would have been, fidgeting with your buttons and your phone and trying to figure out how you could get this to happen. But thanks to geeks, you're able to make it happen.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's a wrap from us. Evans, take us away. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Evans Mensah.